Intentioning This Live. Welcome to Intentioning This Live series. I get to interview some of the most interesting people every week, and this week is no different. I am so excited to talk to the wonderful Fernanda Santos. We have every week conversations with the most interesting people to help you reach your highest intentions. And we want your questions, so please feel free to go ahead and put things into the chat now. We'll get to them as we possibly can. We'd love to hear what you think. We really want to know. So as you know, I am Gloria Felt. I'm co-founder and president of Take the Lead. Our mission is to prepare, develop, inspire, and propel all women of all diversities and intersectionalities to take their fair and equal share of leadership positions across every sector by 2025. So we've got a big mission and lots of work to do. And so we appreciate everyone who's with us here today. And I am so privileged to welcome Fernanda Santos. Let me give you a little bit of background. Although, Fernanda, I'll be asking you to tell more of your own story because that's more interesting that way for sure. Fernanda is an author. She's a journalist. She's a Washington Post contributing editor. I first met her when she was the Arizona bureau chief for the New York Times a few years ago. She also teaches journalism at the Arizona State University Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. So sort of an all-around Renaissance woman. And now, if that's not enough, she is the co-writer of the new American musical called Americano. And can't wait to hear you talk about that, what your process was, what's in this play, off-Broadway play. Can't wait to go see it. And I really am encouraging everyone to make sure that you see it because it's a very compelling story of a dreamer. And we'll talk about dreamers and dreaming and all of those kinds of things. So, Fernanda, if we could, though, before we get to the story of Americano, which, by the way, I want to thank you because I have finally learned how to make the upside down exclamation point on my computer. I finally learned how to do that. I've been trying to figure it out for years, but I finally did it. Okay. But let's just start with a little bit about you. I mean, tell us, how did you get to be you and why do you do what you do in your life?
Wow. Well, first of all, I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's such a joy to talk to you, whether it's in person or here in this virtual space. How did I get to be me? I think this country, the United States, really is the place that I credit with awakening me to all the possibilities within myself, both through the positive experiences I've had, but also I don't call them negative experiences, but the challenges that I've had along the way. And I'm going to explain it to you. I came here in 1998 from Brazil. I was 24 years old at the time to go to graduate school. My grand plan was a year in the United States. To me, was just great adventure. I'm going to spend a year away from Brazil in Boston, a city that I didn't know. I went to graduate school at Boston University in journalism, and then my plan was I'll go back to Brazil and I'll get a job at a newspaper in Rio where I lived at the time. But two things happened. One was I went to a job fair and I got a job offer to work at a newspaper in Western Massachusetts. And another was I was interviewed for, and I was looking for jobs, internships. And one of the interviews I had with this man, Mike Saucier, was for an internship that was unpaid. I was very offended at the fact that something such as an unpaid internship existed. I didn't know it was a common practice in this country. It's a very wrong practice. And I tell all my students to never accept unpaid internships. And I told him, I said, I don't work for free. And I think that made him kind of interested in me. And he had my resume, called me, and we started this conversation. Long story short, we got married. So I had a job and a husband at the most productive job fair ever. Being married to Mike, kind of shielded me from a lot of the different things that I was experiencing, but couldn't quite understand. Mike was a white man from a blue collar family in New England. I was a middle class woman from Brazil, in a place where hierarchies and hierarchical structures are pretty well established. In this country, everybody seems to have a label attached to them and a place attached to them. So I tell you this because I think to tell you how did I get to be me was the moment that I decided that I was not going to allow other people to define who I am. I don't need to live by your labels. I don't need to live by your expectations of those who fall within those labels, how they should be like, or act
Mhm.
like, or talk like. For example, I talk with my hands all the time. And, you know, it's okay. I don't have to sit on them anymore as I used to, because hey, it's how I am. It's who I am. I don't have to be just a brown woman. I don't have to be just a woman. I'm now a widow. I don't have to be just a widow. I'm not defined by your definitions of the place I come
Mhm.
from, the group, ethnic, or geographic area of the world that I come from, my marital status. Uh, I'm not defined by anything.
Mhm.
I define myself. And I define myself in many different ways. I think we all are a lot of different things at once. Sometimes one more than another, but we are all a collection of our experiences and our history and our um, and where we came from, our
Mhm.
origins, right? And so I got to be me the moment that I realized that, and sadly, it was the moment I lost my husband, where I found myself 5 years ago having to take care of our daughter, pay the bills at home, but more than anything, decide, who do I want to be for my daughter? What
Mhm.
kind of role model do I want to be for this child, this woman who was 8 years old at the time? You know, do I want to be the person who fell apart at a major loss? Or do I want to be the person who feels the loss, but decides that she's not going to be defined by that loss and is going to carve her own path? And that's the decision I made.
So there's so much that's rich in what you just said. I mean, we could talk for 2 hours about the process of defining yourself. And it's so funny because it's one of the questions I always ask is, when did you know you had the power to? And ask people to fill in that blank. When did you know you had the power to? And you have just answered that so incredibly beautifully. And I would like to know, how did you find the strength to cope when you lost your husband? Because I've read some of the things that you've written. I know what a traumatic experience it was for you. How did you find the strength?
It's funny because a lot of people have said to me, "You're so strong. Oh my gosh, you're so strong." And it really, I would always ask myself, like, am I being
Mhm.
strong? Um, I think comes from my parents. It comes from something I saw growing up in my family. Um, it, and that is the fact that I never felt alone.
Mm,
I think it's really important in life for us to build our own family. Sometimes family is blood, sometimes family is people who are close to you, who root for you, who support you. And sometimes those people are in your life for a little bit, they move away. Some people, they sometimes they stay. But I think it came from this place of knowing, I'm pretty confident it came from this place of knowing that, you know I have fallen, but I have people holding me up. I
mhm,
have people by my side. I have people there with me when I need to cry, when I need to feel vulnerable. And I also think that it came from that space, right? I am not alone. I can be vulnerable. I can feel what I'm feeling. I have guidance when I need guidance. I also have the trust of others when I need to make difficult decisions for myself or big decisions for
mhm,
myself and my daughter. But in this process, I discovered something really interesting, which is that I don't have to hide my vulnerabilities. My vulnerabilities are my strength. If I am the one framing that narrative, if I am the one talking about it, and by framing the narrative, I don't mean the beautiful Instagram, Facebook post that's has a filter and everything is perfect. I mean, if I'm sad, I want to talk about the fact that I'm sad. If I am happy, I'm going to talk about the fact that I'm happy. Or to quote from my daughter, who came up with a great adjective, has sad, which is a combination of happy and sad. It's a constant state, right? Because there's always a little place in my heart that's going to miss my husband, and that is sad because he's not here. Um, it's okay to be has sad. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to talk about loss, defeat.
mhm,
It's okay because it's from loss and defeat that comes our strength to then
mhm.
carry on. And so I think my strength just comes from doing. you
Mhm.
know. I couldn't stop and be paralyzed by my loss. I had to keep going. I'm alive, you know. It's an honor to be alive.
Something to remember. It's an honor to be alive. Yes, we can all just think about that. You've almost given the perfect definition of intentioning, which, as you know, is my current favorite word. And so I want to talk about that in the context of this wonderful new musical that you have co-written called Americanos. And but let's start, because maybe not everybody understands about dreamers, and
Hmm.
why don't we start with you telling the story? How did this play come to be, and what's the backstory on it? What's the story of it?
Okay, so when I moved to Arizona in 2012, I was Phoenix bureau chief for the New York Times. And I went to Arizona with this idea in mind that this was a state of oppression. We had this sheriff, Joe Arpaio, the racist sheriff who was targeting Latinos. So I went there. People would joke with me, like, oh, don't forget to go out. When you go out, bring your papers, wink, wink. And I'm like, okay, this is the place I'm going to move to and the place I'm going to cover. But what I found in Arizona was very different than what I was reading about. I found lots of young people, community organizers who were um, organizing around um, knocking on doors, mobilizing their communities to participate in elections, to participate in the civic process, to get involved. If they could vote as citizens of this country, they were encouraging them to vote, to participate, to be there at every election. And if they couldn't vote because they were not citizens, they could educate others, sometimes by sharing their own stories. And Tony Valdovinos, who's our inspiration for Americano, was one of these young people. I met Tony as I met many others. And it wasn't like I stayed with Tony's story and within me and said, one day I'm going to write a musical about you. No, Tony, I stayed with many stories. His was one of them. So fast forward to 2018, I am approached by Jason Rose, the producer of Americano. At that time, Michael Barnard, who is a lifelong Arizonan and the 30 plus year director of Phoenix Theater Company, our wonderful regional theater company in Arizona, in Phoenix. And Jonathan Rosenberg, a playwright from California, were working on a script about the life, about a dreamer, about Tony, and they needed a different perspective. They needed someone like me who understood this story, who had the journalistic skills to make sure that it was loyal and factual and accurate, and also had the cultural sensitivity to you know um, infuse in the piece, and the humility to say, I don't know this, I'm going to check with other people, I'm going to look into it, and I'll come back to you with the answer. I'm going to run this by someone or a few people to make sure that we're striking the right tone. Um, and I was really scared when I got involved because I thought, gosh, I've never written a musical in my life. I mean, I love musicals, I go to Broadway. But then I said to myself, to quote from Hamilton, I'm young, still scrappy and hungry, and I'm not going to throw away my shot. So, I am going to embrace this. I can write. I write newspaper articles. I write columns for the Washington Post. I have written a book of narrative nonfiction. I'm working on a memoir. Who says I can't write a musical?
I
Other than
love it.
myself, right? I can tell myself I can't. And it's easy to do that. It's the easy way out. No, not for me. But I said, nope, let's do this. And here we are, in New York with our story. Dreamers, very briefly,
Yeah.
it's a nickname for, it comes from the Dream Act, which is a legislative proposal that has not passed, even though it's been around with different names for more than 10 years, that would grant citizenship for immigrants who were brought to this country at a very young age and who grew up undocumented in the United States. So they are American in every sense of the word, except for the fact that they are not citizens. And not only that, they don't have legal permission to be in this country. So President Obama created DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, that gives them a temporary reprieve from deportation, but still leaves many of them out, whether because they fall they're too old or too young to fall within the age range that DACA
Mhm.
covers. Tony has DACA, Tony Valdovinos, but he could not realize his biggest dream, which was to join the Marines. He grew up wanting to join the Marines. And Tony then took that defeat. So I have a lot that I identify with Tony, and transformed into power. He started working to mobilize, as I said in the beginning, young voters, people in his community to participate in the electoral process. And and we're telling his story, which is the story of millions of others in the United
Mhm.
States.
Obviously immigration is personal to you as well as political, right?
I am an
And
immigrant.
exactly. And so, when we've experienced these things, as you were telling the story, I'm like, I remember that my immigrant, excuse me, my immigrant grandfather actually was able to become American citizen when he joined the U.S. Army
Hmm.
upon arrival. So that is something I did not know until I was reading about Tony's story, that apparently that is no longer the case.
There was a window when DACA recipients were able to join the military, but when
Mhm.
Tony tried to join to enlist, he was not able to. But you're right, generations before ours, immigrants who came before from various different parts of the world
Mhm.
were able to obtain citizenship by joining the military. And I'm glad that you mentioned your heritage, your immigrant heritage, because I think that's one thing that Americano touches on. It's not just a story of Latinos or Mexican Americans.
Right.
It is a chapter in the civil rights history of this history for civil rights in this country, in the fight for civil rights in this
Mhm.
country. Um, you know, uh, Jewish people who came during World War II and after faced that. The Irish faced that. The
Mhm.
Italians faced that. Polish, Germans. I mean, we can go on. The Chinese face that we had the Chinese Exclusion Act that,
Right.
you
Right.
know,
Mhm.
um, and so we are again in African Americans face that in the South, right? So we are again through the Dreamers and their fight for civil rights, living another chapter in that history. And that's why I think it's so important to remember that if we look really hard in our past as Americans, we can find our heritage comes from someplace else, um,
Absolutely.
right?
Mhm.
Or for
Yep.
the origin from the original residents here, the indigenous people. Those are,
Mhm.
the original Americans.
Exactly, but except for those people, the indigenous first people, as it were, we are all immigrants. We are all
Right.
descended from immigrants. I do not understand the obsession with immigrants in this country, and maybe you can explain that to me. But I guess it's a normal human reaction to feel that you start from where you are, and unless someone helps you understand how other people have come to this place, how can you understand that? And so that is the beauty, I think, of telling the story, especially in a musical form, because
Mhm.
human beings learn by stories, right?
Right, right.
And what you're doing is what the ninth leadership intentioning tool in my book Intentioning is called clang your cymbals. And when you tell these stories, people get a symbolic representation of these
Hmm.
larger issues. So I would love for you to talk about your own storytelling in this, and the story that you want people to get from Americano.
I think the first thing, the bigger, the overarching storyline is what does it mean to be an American, right?
Mhm.
I think that and this is such an incredible country. It really is. In all its mess, in all its complications, it's an incredible place, even that we can disagree publicly and not be punished for that. Think about that for a moment. People go to
Mhm.
prison for disagreeing with the government, and here we can do that. Um, so but many people, I think, fail to realize that being an American means more than just being born here, having been naturalized as a citizen. It means being an integral part of your community. It means contributing. It means being able to um, pull other people up, bring other people up with you. It
Mm-hmm.
means exercising the greatest right as a citizen, which is to vote. But knowing what it means to vote, doing it with conscience, it's not just for me, I'm voting for me and for you. What is the collective good here? This is the beauty of this country. This is a country that was written, created upon the idea that we're all created equal, but we know we're not all equal, right? So how can each of us
Mm-hmm.
fulfill a role that makes us better Americans? And I think that's what I hope people who go and see Americano leaves thinking about. What does it mean to be an American? Tony is an excellent American. He's a better American than I'll ever be. He's deeply involved in his community. He has helped mobilize hundreds of thousands of new voters to participate in the electoral process. He has helped train and elect um, members of the new American majority to public office, school board, city council, a state legislature, and Congress. So, what else does he need to do, to prove himself worthy of this country? And I think we should all ask ourselves, how can we be worthy of this country every day? Wake up and think, I can. Starts at our home and then ripples out into our communities. So that's the big thought. Um, but I really want also people to come away from it thinking that seeing themselves in it, we offer many points of connection. There's obviously the military, the strength, the true, very true story of Tony Valdivino's wanting to join the Marines and what it means to fight for your country. There is the immigrant roots and the sense of family and community that's very present in the show. There is the idea of suffering a big defeat and making something out of it. I'm not going to give anything away, but there's a very big personal loss that Tony suffers. There is the idea of home. What does it mean? What is home? So that's what those are the storylines and the what I really, when I was writing this, that's what I really wanted as I put the words on screen, and went over them with my co-writers. That's what we want people to think about.
Wow. Wow. So you co-wrote this. You mentioned that your co-writers were two white men.
Uh-huh.
What was that like? I mean, what was that process like, and how did you all work together?
I remember I actually was talking to one of them yesterday, and I remember one of the first things I said when I was invited to join the team was, "I am not your token brown woman." I just said that. I put it straight out there, first because I want them to know I'm not, and I'm not going to ever put myself in that position again. I think I have allowed myself. In the past, I allowed myself to be there, but I just don't want to put myself in that position ever again. And I don't want anybody to ever put themselves there. But what I found was that what I have found is that it's been such a beautiful and rich creative process because we have each brought into this show, into this process of writing the show, different life experiences, different skills, different sensitivities. So we check one another, we seed the ground to others. We are respectful and learn from one another. And I find that these two men, Michael Barnard, who is also gay and has a husband, so he also has his own interesting perspective in the world, and having grown up in Arizona, how he experienced being gay in Arizona is also very important. And Jonathan Rosenberg, who is a Jewish guy from New York who moved to California and worked with special education students for a long time before he became a playwright, also has his own perspective on things. So we understand what it's like to be what's considered a minority or marginalized. I don't like
Other,
either.
other, other,
Exactly. Other,
other,
different, other, right?
right.
How do we turn these words on their head? Like, how do we change people's perspectives about what it means to be other, what it means to be different? There's no other. It's all a matter of perspective. What's other to
Right.
me may not be other to you. What's different to me may not be different to you, right? So
Okay.
it's been really fun and challenging, but in the best possible way. I have grown so much as a creator, as a writer, as a human being, And I feel like I found these two, like they're older than me, so they're kind of like they kind of protect me, but they also kind of go like, go, just Just take this
Right,
and go, you know.
right, right.
This morning I woke up and I literally woke up because we were writing very late. We're making tweaks still, preview stages that like that. And I woke up and I said, oh my gosh, that scene that we wrote last night is wrong. Like we rewrote a scene. We missed out on an opportunity to communicate something. And I wrote to the two of them and said, here's what we missed out on. Can I please, I'm going to rewrite this scene. I'm going to send it to you.
Mhm.
And I rewrote, sent it to them. And right away, Michael Barnard said, this is perfect. Thank you. You know,
Wonderful.
and it's so great to
Mhm,
to have people say what your voice, your perspective is
mhm.
important, is valued, and we're giving you the space to express yourself.
That is wonderful. So I'm so excited about it, and personally, I can't wait to see it.
I can't wait to
I'm
have you there.
inviting a bunch of friends, and we haven't figured out which date we're going to be there yet. But I'm telling you, we will be there soon. But so, will you please tell people who may be watching this where it is, how they can find out about it, what the website is, what the social media is? Tell them everything you want people to know about
Okay.
Americano.
Uh, please come watch this show. Come, it's a great show. Do like Gloria. Come and see the show. Yeah, there you go. Star, you know, um, so Americano, you can find a lot of information about the show on our website. It's Americano, which is American with an O at the end. Americano, themusical.com, americanothemusical.com. So we have our Instagram link, Twitter, Facebook, so you can follow us on all the social media. We will be, we're on a limited engagement at New World Stages. It's a wonderful off-Broadway facility in Theater 3 on 50th Street, just west of 8th.
Right in my
So
neighborhood.
there you
I'm
go. You
like,
can
I could
walk
throw
to
a
the theater.
stone to it. Yes,
Don't throw a
wonderful.
stone, throw a rose.
Right, right.
But I know what you mean.
Mhm.
You can buy tickets online. Also on the website, you can go there and buy tickets. And we have a run through June 19th. We're currently in previews. Our official opening night is April 21st. We have some, we have an incredibly talented cast. For many of them, this is their first off-Broadway show, which is great because we also see ourselves as paving the way for them. It's a line in the show, pave the way. We are paving the way for people who look like me, for
Mhm.
people for our people, Latinos, immigrants, to have a chance at maximizing their potential and show what they're made of on the big stage. It's a vast majority of our actors are Latinos, of Latino heritage, immigrant heritage for sure. We all are, and it has amazing choreography by Sergio Mejia, who worked for Disney for many years, choreographed many of Disney's shows, and incredible music by Carrie Rodriguez, who is an Ameri Chicana singer-songwriter from Austin, Texas. Um, it's just unlike anything, and I'm not saying this because I wrote it. People have said this about the show, unlike anything they've ever seen in New York on Broadway or off Broadway. So come check it out.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. And I noticed that Chicanos por la Causa is a partner in this endeavor, which is an organization in Arizona that I have known and admired since they began, literally since they began. And it's so cool to see that as an organization, it's grown to this point and is being part of telling this story that I think everyone needs to hear this story. Everyone needs to see this story. I'm already envisioning that it should be in every high school. I mean, it's like one of
Let's
those.
do this.
I think
Let's
it's
do
one of
it.
those. This should be one of those classics that everybody gets to know. Now, Fernanda, tell people how they can find you specifically as well, because you
Okay.
are always writing wonderful things, and I follow you. So tell people how to find you.
Okay, so there are different ways to connect. I have a Substack, a monthly note that arrives in your inbox for free. Of course, Substack has a paid subscription option, but you don't have to pay. Just come and join the team. Buy fernandasantos.substack.com. That's one option. There's my website, fernandasantos.com, which has links to all my different social media, a lot of my work there. I am on Twitter at by Fernanda S. as in Santos. And Fernanda, for those who don't know how to spell, is Fernanda, because I'm a woman. So by Fernanda S on Twitter. I am Hey It's Me Fernanda on Instagram. But if you go to my website, fernandasantos.com, all of that stuff is there. I love connecting. I love being exposed to new people, new perspectives. I'm very open to different opinions. That's how we grow. So if anyone or when you all go and see the show, please write to me. Let me know what you thought. Share your perspectives and help us all, keep this story out there. Make our mark and make it part of, as Gloria said, something that people can experience and learn about the history of our country and our own histories.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Fernanda. I'm going to tell
Thank
people a little bit
you.
about Take the Lead now, but I just want to thank you for all that you have shared and will continue to share both in your writing and also as an integral part of this incredible musical, Americano. I just encourage everyone to go see it. And as you know, for Take the Lead as a nonprofit organization that is completely committed to intersectional gender parity in leadership by 2025. Tell your friends about it. Tell your friends about it because it's by telling these stories that we can share and that we can all move forward together. It's such an honor and a pleasure to get to talk about this with you. Please go to taketheleadwomen.com and join our newsletter. And you'll be able to always know what we're doing because we've always got events. We've got free material that will help you in your own leadership journey on our website. We have also our 9 leadership power tools to accelerate or to advance your career online course is back up and running again. And you can find it at taketheleadwomen.com/online course. On this time, you have 3 options for taking it. You can take it as a completely self-study course. You can take it and get 4 masterminds with me, and that will be fun. Or you can also take it and get coaching as well as the masterminds. There are other people who do coaching because I'm too directive. I'm not a good coach, but I love to do the masterminds and help people really talk about their issues and what they're doing and solving their problems. So thank you, everybody who was with us today. We'll see you again next week, April 14th at 12 p.m. Actually, that one will be at 12 p.m. Eastern Time when my guest will be Reshma Saujani. She's the founder of Girls Who Code and more recently of the Marshall Plan for Moms and the author of a new book that sums all of it up called Pay Up, the Future of Women and Work and Why It's Different Than You Think. So another interesting conversation coming up. Thank you again, Fernanda. And thank you everybody for joining us. And until I see you again, keep intentioning.
Always. Thank you so much for having me. It was great.